Hey guys, hi, welcome back once again. My name is Vaishali and today I want to talk about focus. Focus, that aspect of us wherein we get so present with something that we actually can become absent from everything else, including ourselves. And then I came across this profound quote which said that people don't have ideas. Ideas have people. And that made me take a pause and reflect. Now, we generally have this idea, or rather, the idea has us, that having this intense amount of focus, having this insane kind of a focus when we're trying to do something is really, really good, is one of the very positive aspects that somebody can aspire for. And yes, having that intense, having that insane kind of a focus can help us develop certain things, can help us get in the flow of things, wherein things that we are creating are getting naturally, organically created, wherein they are just coming out in a flow state, where one loses the essence of time and space and even themselves. I believe the question one should ask is it always helpful, and does it not rub off on the others in the most unpleasant way also at times? So let me take up a few personal examples over here. Now I can go back in time when I was in school, and I was somebody who was always fascinated with the subject history, with how we interconnect our stories, with how we relate to our stories that come from the past and stories that are happening right now, because history for me had always been about his or her story, and how those stories helped interconnect us, how those stories helped establish the governance, how those stories told a story about the War of Independence, why it was the War of Independence needed in the first place, how did we get enslaved, what was the society going through at that point in time, individually and collectively. So for me, history was not just a subject wherein the dates had to be mugged up and a few names had to be mugged up. It was about the individual and the collective story narrations. It was about the collective psyche and the individual psyche that was coming to the foray. And so here I was as a 15-16-year-old sitting in my classroom, attending this particular lecture, listening to this particular topic taught by a particular teacher, and it was so engaging that I kind of lost the concept of space and time. I did not know when the lecture had ended and when the other lecture began, and there was another teacher who had come in the classroom and she had started teaching her own subject matter. And the best part was that this particular teacher who had walked in for another lecture had not come to interrupt me. Now, I'm not sure whether the teacher was aware of this particular student not paying attention in her classroom but was lost in her own world, or whether the teacher was very aware that I was so engrossed into learning something else that I did not even pay attention that somebody else had walked in. I did not notice that the lecture had ended and the other lecture had begun. Or maybe when I look in hindsight, it could also be that this particular teacher was also so engrossed in teaching her subject that she kind of forgot that there was this other student who was just not present in her class. Though I was physically present, I was not mentally present. I was not engaged with what she was teaching. So yes, I did learn something about that particular event in the history of mankind, but I also missed out on something else that was being taught. The question is, was that kind of a presence that one can become absent truly helpful? The question is not that easy to answer. Maybe it was helpful. Maybe in some other ways it wasn't. Was the teacher paying attention or was she not paying attention? I do not know. Maybe the teacher herself was so present that she forgot that this particular student was completely absent, though the student was physically present. Or maybe the teacher was so present that she understood that kind of a presence of this particular student and thus did not intervene it. Now, this kind of a focus, which is also called as the flow state, doesn't happen all the time. And yes, it does happen with most of us once in a while, wherein we get so involved with creating and recreating something that essentially we are recreating and recreating our own selves, that we even lose the concept of the self itself, leave alone space and time. And yes, on the personal level, I experience it when I'm trying to create something, to recreate something that I'm essentially recreating and recreating my own self, which happens when I'm writing a blog, when I'm trying to connect the thoughts together, when I'm trying to learn something new and I'm really enjoying the process of learning, or when I'm painting. But the other side of that is that when I get into that creative zone, I essentially forget the concept of physical and biological state, to the extent that I may not drink water for 4, 5, 6, 8 hours as well. I may not move my muscle or my neck or any of the body parts, to the extent that I may not even go to the loo to remove toxins from the body. Now, I can definitely say that this kind of a flow state is very helpful when I am not being bothered by anything or by anybody else, including my own self and my biology. But it may only be helpful for shorter bursts of time. But there's the other side to it as well. Since we all are interactive, interconnected, social species, we constantly are engaging with somebody or the other and not living in solitary confinements. Others may feel neglected. Others may feel unwanted as well. So if I can take another example and correlate it to the topic in question, which is of a horse who's got these barrels tied around its eyes, it knows that it's got to focus on the straight path. And that's excellent when the horse has got to run on a straight path. The question is, would we put the same horse on the road wherein the traffic is streaming from all possible directions without somebody controlling it from behind? Very likely not, because on such a road wherein the traffic is streaming from every possible corner, the horse is most likely to meet with an accident. So just like every color has two sides, the green that can also represent abundance and prosperity can also represent jealousy and envy. In a similar way, every thought, every story has two or many more perceptions. So how about really pondering over that thought, that if we do have an idea or an idea has us? And how about also developing many more perceptions on the same thought? Because I'd also read somewhere that when everybody is thinking alike, nobody is actually thinking. How about giving all of this a thought, and I will see you once again the next week. Till then, stay tuned in. And guys, if you do like the content of my videos, please do like, share and subscribe.